and that is, how do you teach grammar and writing? Like, what are some actual methods? Like, what do you do to improve your writing in students, and what are the methods you use in class? And let's talk about that. First of all, writing is something that happens every single day. Grammar is something we do every day. And we'll typically have one pretty decent size writing on Wednesday. Now, it may not be a huge essay. It may just be a response to a prompt. It may be a short narrative. Some points in the year we do write full-length essays, but we write pretty substantial amount on Wednesday every week, what I call writing Wednesdays, but we write at least a little bit every day. So let's talk about how we make grammar and writing correlate, because grammar worksheets are not really going to help that much. There's a time and a place for those, and target really isolating grammar, very limited space for that, and it's only to really get a lot of repetition just recognizing something, and then we'll get back to paper and use it. But the first thing, first of all, don't get carried away on testing them on the lingo of grammar. A lot of teachers really harp on, find the infinitive phrase, or what's the, where's the dangling modifier, or I don't know, what's the faulty parallelism in this sentence. I don't know what that is. You need to focus on recognition and usage. You need to be able to see a grammar mistake and fix it and use it in your own writing. That's what matters more than anything, not the lingo. They're not going to remember. You can get all these packets you want. They're not going to remember all of it, but they can recognize it and use it properly. So we focus on that. So when they first come in, I have what are called spiral reviews I do every day. I believe in spiral instruction. I don't believe in just teaching commas, colons, and semicolons for 2 weeks and then moving on to something else. I think you need to spiral stuff throughout the year. Have the concept of spaced repetition is how we file things away into our long-term memory. So this is just a real short example of a spiral review that on the screen here. And spiral reviews are not just grammar. Typically, they're just targeted skills that you need to be using throughout the year. This particular one, and this is typically what I start off with as far as grammar, is they will typically edit a paragraph or several sentences, maybe 4 or 5. And the first portion of the grammar stuff in the spiral reviews or the beginning of class, that's a little bit of everything that we've reviewed. That's putting it all together. All right, and that's really what you want them to be able to do. And I make them rewrite them. I don't just make them put the edit marks. It's better if they'll rewrite them and edit them. Okay, now this one happens, and this is really not even a paragraph. It's just really 2 sentences. But there's, of course, several things you see in here that they need to go and they will correct. All right, then, of course, I like to put vocab in here. And this one's just simply some of the vocab words they've had, some sprinkled in from the past. Just give me a synonym or 2 for them. This is actually working on paraphrasing and direct quoting information and properly using the in-text citation. And then we'll go on to, I also have target reading skills that I use in spiral reviews. We have, of course, novel reading and longer-term reading to absorb long-term themes, but I do like to target specific reading skills, especially like making inferences, reasoning type, these type of, almost like test prep passages. Picking out words in context, stuff like that. We'll do narrative point of view. We will do determining plagiarism. There's several things we do in spiral reviews. And I've actually gotten to where I put most of the grammar stuff on the board and vocab now. And on paper will be some of the actual reading passages, the small targeted reading passages. And I do use IXL as well because it shoots so many different problems and an endless amount of repetition at them. We use it in conjunction with paper. But back to the grammar and writing specifically. So we start off with a couple of sentences when they come in, or a paragraph where it's putting all the mistakes together that we've worked on. Then, other than just the daily grammar edits, you also have little mini reviews. Anytime you're doing it, I may let them come to the board, fix some of them, and we'll go over it, explain and show them and let them jot little mini notes if they want to. It works better that way when you spiral it throughout the year and they keep seeing it and keep using it. But then after the daily grammar edits and we get past this part of the spiral review, we will go to a more focused grammar. We might target some specific grammar concepts. It may be colons, it may be semicolons, maybe dangling modifiers, just a few target examples where we're specifically focusing in on a skill. And then we'll typically write a couple of sentences of our own with some of these grammar concepts. Sentence composing and imitation are key as well. So daily grammar edits with mini lessons that connects all the grammar stuff where they have to put it all together. Then we'll go to a kind of a targeted skill where we like focus on one grammar thing or another. And then we'll go to a creating their own couple of sentences where they actually have to implement that stuff. And open a book, open a novel, point out these grammar concepts. Hey, you see how they did that? I want you to imitate that sentence. Don't copy it, but you're just putting all the grammar concepts that they had in the sentence. And writing every Wednesday is key, or every week. Even if it is a page or two or a paragraph, they need to articulate and create their own writing. And we write narratives throughout the year. We'll write formal essays. We'll write poems. Creative writing is important for grammar because you use the whole spectrum of writing, everything from dialogue to ellipses and everything in between. The whole range of grammar and writing get put on display there. So creative writing is really important to allow them to do that. And of course I use IXL, I use quizzes. There's some games on there for grammar that they were to drag and drop and retype sentences and stuff like that. But it's just all of these things. It's daily grammar edits. It is targeting grammar when it's necessary. You don't want to isolate grammar too much. You want to kind of keep it all together and teach it with writing. But there is a time and a place to isolate some grammar concepts just to kind of really get the recognition part of it and then apply it in the usage part when we write it out. But writing every week is key as well. Now, that's the next part. How do we, Mr. Ganser, how on earth can we write and grade writing every week? Well, the thing is you don't. There are multiple ways that you can get feedback and get it back to the students without literally grading 100 papers completely a week and giving it back to them. Now, to be sure, throughout the year, there are some times where I will completely go through and grade and give them feedback and comments and give it back to them. But that's not every week. So the weeks you don't do that, sometimes I don't even grade them. Sometimes I just look at them and I will reflect what are the problems that we're continuing to have as students. And that drives my grammar instruction for the next week. And that they improve that way. That's that conferencing type grading. Move around the room when they're writing and editing these sentences and actually give them that one-on-one time. It doesn't always have to be me taking a stack of papers this big and burying myself in my room at home, for literally days. Because even if you have 80 to 100 students and they write one page, that's 80 to 100 pages. That's a book. And you have to grade it. So even if you spend just 5 minutes, which you're going to spend longer than that, that's days. You can't do that every week. So you do need to give them feedback, even if it is just conferencing and moving around the room. Or let's just go over the paper together. Does your paper have this? Do you have a thesis? Underline your thesis statement. If it's a narrative paper, do you have sensory detail and dialogue? Underline where that's at. Go over it with them again. Move around and help them. There's all types of ways you can interact and give them feedback without just having to grade 100 papers every single week. Nobody's going to do that. You can't do that. Again, you need to do that some during the year, but sometimes during the year, maybe you don't even grade all of it. Maybe you just look for certain things this week. Maybe you're just looking at their intro and body paragraphs, or maybe this week you're looking for formatting, or maybe this week you're just looking for grammar and proper and common nouns, whatever it is. And then some weeks maybe you don't even grade it. You just reflect on their papers and just make a note of the things they're having trouble in, and that drives your grammar instruction the next week. That's why it's important to spiral grammar. All of those things together are what makes writing and grammar improve in students. And you got to be patient. It's not something that they're just going to magically be able to do much better, but by the end of the year, they get sharp. They get much sharper and recognize that their writing gets more polished. When I give them templates. I have my students as far as how to structure an essay. Ask them questions in spiral reviews too. Literally give them an outline. All right, give me this part of the essay and what goes in each part. My kids can just shoot it off like that. Oh yeah, for a formal essay you need 5 body paragraphs. In your first your first paragraph's your intro, you need a hook, background, thesis. In your 3 body paragraphs, you need a transition, order, topic, sentence, and analysis. And in your conclusion, you restate your thesis and wrap it up. They know. So that should be something they master too. The formatting, how to set it up. They should be able to do it in their sleep. But the key is it's a little bit of all these things. Maybe you want to grade the paper thoroughly this week. Maybe you don't want to grade it at all. Maybe you just want to make a note of how they did and the things that they're struggling with, and then that drives your grammar instruction the next week. Maybe you're going to get up in front of the class and do a little checklist. Literally write with them. I write with them and type with them and show them on my overhead what it looks like. Does yours look like that? Well, let's make it look like that. The conferencing, type grading. So it's all of those things together will equate to good grammar. The most important part is it's showing up in the writing. The grammar worksheets, I'm not saying they're terrible. There's a time and a place to use a little bit of isolation from grammar to get the recognition part. But grammar worksheets alone aren't going to correlate into the usage part, and that's really what we want to focus on. So all those things, daily grammar edit, sentence composing, sentence imitation, writing each Wednesday, targeting some stuff here and there, but and spiraling it. Using the mini lessons, letting them have fun with it, come up to the board and make the corrections. Being strategic when you are going to thoroughly grade an essay, or maybe I'm going to grade these things this week, or maybe I'm just going to give them feedback and that's going to be in my grammar instruction next week. That's how you can do it without losing your hair and losing your mind in the process. But I hope the video helped. I really believe in spiral review and spiral instruction. Again, there's always a time and a place. We spiral it, target, review. Spiral it, target. So I think that's just a better way to do it. It stimulates that spaced repetition instead of just trying to say, we're going to go over this for a week or two and then we're going to be done with it. The better thing to do is spiral, target, spiral, target, spiral, target, reflect, spiral, target, reflect, spiral, target, reflect. That's the best way to do it in language arts. So I hope the video was helpful. My students have been very successful with the methods that I've used. My class last year was 7th in the state in ELA. And I was really proud of that, and I think the methods have a lot to do with that.